Very good evening, guys. I hope, am I audible to my listeners? So, I welcome everyone to Sriram's IAS, a channel partner of Unacademy. Guys, in this session, we will be practicing some questions related to disaster management. This is a special session that will assist your mains preparation. So, I welcome all. Before we start, I request if you can hit a like button and you can share this video with your friends so that this video can reach maximum people that they can take out the benefit from this free initiative. So in this video, we will be answering some 3 to 4 questions related to disaster management. So if you're planning to take a subscription at Unacademy, so Sriram IAS offers you a complete comprehensive coverage for UPSC CSE 24, where we will help you in each stage for the exam, whether it is pre, mains, interview, optional, essay writing, and then we also provide personalized mentorship. All these courses are under the guidance of our director, Sriram sir himself. He will be guiding you throughout the journey of UPSC, and he will be the supreme mentor for your preparation. He has a experience of more than 35 years in serving this country and providing civil servants. So let us start. This session is brought to you by me, Anshum Verma, that I am a practicing advocate in Delhi, and plus I am mentoring UPSC aspirants from past 10 years. So guys, in this video, we will be focusing on 3 questions specifically. So the first question is related with the earthquakes. Earthquakes is quite a recurrent phenomena. We know that earthquake is a very probable question from disaster management, and every year GS3, particularly disaster management, there are 50 marks approx that comes from this area. So again, you cannot ignore this area completely. So the first question is, like, on this topic on earthquake, there has been many questions. Almost every alternative year you will find a question related to earthquake. So this is a very simple question, a very straightforward question. Let's see that how we can go about this question. So the question says that discuss about the dangers associated with earthquakes that India is susceptible to. That means the question is indirectly asking that what all area are susceptible to what kind of earthquakes. So with respect to NDMA guidelines, suggest some measures. So again, we have to keep those NDMA guidelines in mind and then answer this. So how we can approach this question? So in the introduction, you can start by explaining in just very short manner that what are earthquake. So how you gonna go about this? Like, earthquake is the sudden shaking of the earth crust. Okay, it is the sudden shaking of the earth crust, and with this sudden movement of the earth, there are seismic waves that are generated in all directions. So then you can very briefly in one line, you can explain that what are the causes for the earthquake, and you can support this with a data. So causes, you can very quickly write some natural causes. In natural cause, what you can write, like movement of tectonic plates. You can write movement of tectonic plates. Then volcanoes. Volcanoes are another reason. Then probably a meteor strike or any other kind of a celestial event can also trigger earthquake. And then you can add some anthropogenic causes. In anthropogenic causes, what you can write, maybe some deep sea mining can trigger underwater earthquake or earthquake near the coastal area. Then some kind of a nuclear test or a missile test can trigger earthquake. So you can very briefly explain that what is an earthquake. And then the question is asking about that, discuss about the dangers associated with earthquake that India is susceptible to. So after explaining this, you can briefly explain that how much portion of earthquake or how much portion in India is vulnerable to earthquake. So around 58.6% of Indian geographical region is prone to earthquakes. Okay, it is prone to earthquakes. And then very quickly you can maybe you can show the vulnerability of earthquakes in India by drawing a map, a rough map. So how you can plot the earthquake zones? So basically you need to plot the two major zones, that are zone 5 and zone 4, which are the highly susceptible region for the earthquake. So what all regions have zone 5? What all regions have zone 5 as the the prime vulnerable pockets of earthquake? So you can mark some pockets in the northern India. Then complete northeast is your zone 5. A little pockets in Uttarakhand, a little pockets in Bihar. This region is zone 5, and then a very small portion here in Bhuj. So you can highlight these areas which are highly perceptible or susceptible to the earthquakes in India. Okay, then what you can do, you can very quickly also, there is one more region that is again very much prone to earthquake, that is the zone 4. So all rest of the Himalayan area comes under the zone 4. And then there is zone 2, zone 3. Again, if you can ignore that, that is quite enough to explain. In zone 5, you can also add Andaman and Nicobar Islands. So this rough map in introduction is sufficient to explain that what different types of earthquake can trigger, or what all regions are susceptible to earthquake, what is the earthquake, what are the causes. You have just highlighted this in the first paragraph. Then how you can write the second paragraph, okay, how you can go about beginning of your body of the answer. So in the body of the answer, you can start explaining, like it is also touching the dangers associated with earthquake. So in this, what you can do, you can add that what different types of impact or consequence that earthquake can trigger. So you can give a subheading, consequence of an earthquake. Very quickly, in one small paragraph, you can explain this. So you can divide it as primary damage due to earthquake. So what are the primary damage due to an earthquake? So it impact infrastructure, it impact human settlements. Okay, then it will impact your other important critical infrastructures like hospitals, schools, etc., etc. And then in the primary damage, you will also witness loss of life, not just the human life, but also the loss of livestock. This is also the part of primary damage due to earthquake. And more vulnerable are the weak structures. The weak structures are more vulnerable to or more prone to the earthquakes. Okay, so this is the primary damage. Then I can change the color for a better segregation. The second will be the secondary damage. You can add secondary damage due to an earthquake. So in secondary damage, what you can write, you can include that due to an earthquake, you can trigger other type of natural hazards like landslides, like tsunami. Okay, like there are other kind of disasters like some kind of a leak that can develop in the form of a nuclear or chemical leaks. Okay, then your damage to the communication lines such as road electricity, then water supply, all these can hamper. So these can be classified under the secondary damage. Then very quickly, again, this all of this is part of your introduction to the body. In the body, you can also add tertiary damage. Now, what will be the tertiary damage or the dangers associated with your earthquake? It includes, majorly it will include PTSD, the post-trauma stress disorder. So just after an earthquake, you will feel that the people are, somebody has lost his leg, somebody has lost his body part, or somebody has lost his loved ones. So those people will go through the psychological stress just after an earthquake for a good period of time. Okay, so this PTSD is part of your tertiary damage, and then it will also disrupt the social capital of the place. It will disrupt the social capital, like earthquake can trigger social problems like migrations, intercity migration, intra-city migrations. Okay, intercity and intra-city migrations. So it will distort the social capital. It will impact the most vulnerable people under the social capital, that is women, that is children, the old people. So these people will be, highly vulnerable to any kind of earthquake. So this is what in first two paragraphs you can easily write the you can easily write the Rishabh, you can follow the Telegram channel, official Telegram channel of Unacademy. There you will get all these questions uploaded, and there is official Telegram channel of Sriram IAS as well. So, and these sessions are running live. So you can write a question and you can start practicing along with the teacher. Each day in this channel, we get these answer writing sessions where every different subjects teachers, the experts will come and they will guide you in answer writing. Okay. Now coming to the second part of the question. Okay. Now we are coming to the second part of the question. The second part of the question says, with respect to NDMA guidelines, suggest some measures that we can do to tackle earthquakes. So there are some ways that you can tackle earthquakes. So you can give a heading, mitigation measures. In bracket, you can quote NDMA guidelines, according to the NDMA guidelines. Now this is only possible. You can only know your NDMA guidelines if you have, you have prepared your question well, if you have prepared your subject well. So for each disaster, NDMA has, they have came out with, the mitigation strategies related to each disaster. So each disaster has NDMA guidelines associated with it. So you can follow those guidelines and you can, write some good answers. It will fetch you some good points. So the first point here is vulnerability mapping. So in vulnerability mapping, what you will include, like you will identify the most vulnerable areas, okay, most vulnerable areas to the earthquake. Like you can say, sir, we have already added this in vulnerability mapping of India, but that is different. Like imagine yourself as a collector of a district. So don't you think that you should have a district wise map ready with you, that in your district which are the highly vulnerable areas, so you can take all the measures for that particular area. Like you can take some additional measures for highly vulnerable areas. So this is what your first mitigation strategy will include, vulnerability mapping. The second important strategy related to earthquake is, community preparedness. Community preparedness. Now this you can do, what all community preparedness you will do. Basically, when it comes to community preparedness, you will try to educate people about the earthquake. You will try to train people. You will give necessary training. You will, you can teach people to spread awareness. So awareness through the government campaigns. So, and then yes, capacity building. This can be added. So like what will be included in capacity building? For example, who are the first responder in any disaster? Like for example, an accident took place on the road. Who do you think is the first responder to that accident? It is the community. The local community will be the first responder. So if you have trained your local community to tackle major disasters of that area, you have developed your capacity to strengthen your resilience against the disaster. So you can add all these points here in the mitigation strategy. That is the point 2, or the mitigation guideline by NDMA, which is the second guideline. Then you can promote earthquake resistant construction / infrastructure. Earthquake resistant construction / infrastructure. Now how this can happen? Like first of all, you will try to rebuild or reconstruct those infrastructure which are highly vulnerable or those which are very weak. So you will try to replace those structures. And then you will also work on critical infrastructure. Critical infrastructure will include your hospitals, your schools, your government buildings. So what you can do, wherever there is no new construction possible, you can do, or you can follow the retrofitting techniques. What are retrofitting techniques? In these techniques, you try to rearrange, or kind to, in a way you are renovating the structure. So this is what you mean by earthquake resistant infrastructure. So this will help, building resilience. Like, for example, there is a absence of system of licensing in India. So you can impose a licensing system for the construction. In the construction, what else will be included? Proper regulation of all the building codes. Okay, regulation of all the building codes and all these things will also be included in earthquake resistant construction and infrastructure. Then next point will be proper enforcement of laws. So what we need is a better coordination at all levels, at central level, at state level, and also at the local level. So we need to develop a good coordination mechanism among different stakeholders, different levels, government levels, and also community participation. And then what you can do, you can further improve your emergency response. Like, if you know that all these areas are vulnerable to earthquakes, what you can do, you can follow a command and coordinated approach. You can follow command and coordinated approach, which will help you to, develop an emergency response against the earthquake. Like, you should have those high upgraded technological equipments that can help you to save people, like some sonar based systems that can easily track the people trapped under the debris. Then your other kind of infrastructure should be ready, your equipment should be ready. Like, you should have good decent availability of JCBs and other rescue teams which should be ready there. So trained rescue team station. So all these points you can add as a earthquake mitigation strategy. All right. Then one more point that I can think of as of now, encouraging traditional construction methods. This can also be a kind of a solution to the earthquake resistant buildings. So how you can encourage traditional construction? So you can write it this way, like, for example, Ekra construction of Assam. Ekra construction is where bamboos are used. You can give some examples. So this type of construction. Then your bhongas. Bhongas is kind of a thatched roof, the village kind of a setup. So this type of construction can be encouraged. Okay, the bhongas. So all these are the different ways through which you can improve earthquake resistance in our country. So towards the end, you can conclude this question by giving a very simple conclusion. So in conclusion, what you will write, you can conclude it in this way, that since India is highly vulnerable, highly vulnerable to earthquakes, development of early earthquake warning systems, early earthquake warning systems, and better resilience, better resilience can save lives, can save many lives in India. So with these positive approach, you can end the discussion here for this particular answer. I hope you are understanding that what I'm trying to say here. Okay, so this is how you can conclude this answer: earthquake mitigation. Is it clear? So moving on, let us move on to the next question. I have added 3 questions for the discussion. Okay, today we have 3 questions for discussion, so we'll do that in detail. Okay, we'll spend some almost equal time on each question. So the next question is a very important phenomena that all of our country presently facing. It is urbanization, oh sorry, the urban floods as a topic. Urban floods. Okay, so the question says, describe the massive influx of floods in Indian cities with reference to recent example. Offer long lasting corrective actions. So basically it is asking some examples of recent urban flooding in India, like just 1 month back. In fact, it is not even a month that the state, the capital of our country, was under the influence of floods. So we will quote some examples, and then what solutions that we can add to this problem. So before starting this question, you have to broadly frame you should have those blue points, a blueprint ready for this answer. You can roughly sketch it. Like in introduction, you can talk about what are urban floods, then what are the reasons that the urban floods are having that influx of water, or rather you can write some causes. And then once you know the causes, in one paragraph you can easily write some corrective measures. You can write some corrective measures, and then you can conclude the answer. So this is how roughly you will go about this topic. So how you can explain what are urban floods? So basically urban floods are defined as inundation of water in the urban cities, which is due to excessive rainfall beyond the carrying capacity of the major cities. So in this slide you can easily explain that what are urban floods. Then you can also link it this way, that the risk associated with urban floods the risk associated with urban floods are continuously rising. The main problem is the problem of urbanization. So all our urban centers are increasing or they are expanding. So this expansion of urban cities or urbanization is the main result that more and more area are coming under inundation of water, which seems as urban floods. So you can quote some data that the intensity, flood intensity has increased by 1.8 to 8 times. Now, this is the data given by Central Water Commission. This is the data given by Central Water Commission. All right. So the flood intensities are increasing, and then even the flood volumes are increasing. Flood volumes is also increasing. So when it comes to flood volumes, the flood volume has increased almost 6 times. So that means we are getting more frequency of floods, and then along with more frequency of floods, we are also getting more water in each flood. Okay, so more and more water is being accumulated in each flood. So on these lines, you can introduce your answer in one paragraph. Then in the body, how you will, write the body of this question. So in body, you can start your answer in such a way, like, for example, you can write some causes for urban floods. Causes for urban floods, because this is what it is quoting. One more thing that you can add, you can quote some examples of the recent floods which has impacted most of the cities. So when it comes to giving examples, you can give examples of the 2023 floods in Delhi, in major cities of Haryana like Gurugram, like Panipat, Ambala, and then Punjab. Punjab is also impacted by urban floods. Then from 2022, you can quote examples of Bangalore floods, and Chennai floods. So you can give examples like this in your introduction. Okay, you can quote these examples after quoting some data that I have already explained. Then in the body, you can start with the causes for urban floods. So what is the major cause of urban floods? So the major cause is the spatial and temporal pattern. The spatial and temporal pattern of rains have changed. Now, what do you mean by spatial and temporal pattern? You can elaborate this in your answer. So when it comes to spatial pattern, so rains, there is more area which are coming under the rain. That means, even like one example from the current affairs, you can quote marine heat waves. Marine heat waves. This was in news like last 2 months, last 2 weeks. This was in news, marine heat waves. So what is the result of these marine heat waves? There is more and more moisture is carried out by your southwesterly monsoon, and then this more moisture is deflected towards the drier region in the northwestern India, which results in more rainfall in northwestern India. So marine heat wave is a very important current affair that is impacting your urban floods. Okay. So this is what we can say, that there is a change in the spatial pattern. That means more region are coming under the influence of heavy rain. This is what you can write about the spatial pattern. Then temporal pattern. What you can write about temporal pattern? So temporal means the time duration. So guys, you will see that the rains are getting aggressive in the sense that now we are witnessing monsoon much early than expected. Earlier, the monsoon used to come in Delhi towards end of July, but now monsoon has already arrived Delhi in the starting of June. We are getting rains from April onwards, and that means even the summers have shifted a little early. Now this is what your climate change is. Okay, so you can link this point with climate change, and then you can explain your answer. Then other than this, one important cause for urban floods is urban heat island effect. The next is urban heat island effect. This is the most important cause for urban floods. You can also write urban heat dome. Both are same. Urban heat island effect and urban heat dome. So how you can elaborate this? So for example, in urban areas, there is more and more of concretization which is happening. Concretization. What will concretization do? It will absorb more heat. So your roads, your rooftops, more area coming under the construction activities, it is exposing more open surface area for heating. When more surface area is exposed for heating, what will happen? The overall temperature of that area will start rising up. Now when the temperature start rising up, there is an instant low pressure that will be developed, a very strong intense low pressure that will be developed in that region, which will attract your monsoonal winds or maybe your regular convective rainfall, and it can trigger very heavy rainfall. The next reason is the rising level of pollution in urban areas. The rising level of pollution. Under this, you can write the vehicular pollution, the agricultural pollution. You can quote example of stubble burning, then industrial pollution. So what is the ultimate result of all these pollutions? So more and more particulate matter and greenhouse gases are, their proportion is increasing in the atmosphere. So when more and more greenhouse gases will be added, what will be the ultimate effect, guys? It will, start increasing the average temperature. So there will be more absorption of the sunlight, more absorption of heat, and there will be a rise in average temperature that will be recorded. And when the rise in the average temperature will be recorded in urban area, then it will, further trigger the low pressure. So this is why the heat is trapped in the, in the urban cities. There is no proper exchange of heat that happens in the urban cities, which further triggers extensive rainfall. Like all these particulate matters, they also create a kind of a shield in urban area and does not allow the heat to escape from that region. So this results in, this results in uh, urban heat island effect, and then triggering more and more, more and more rainfall, more intense rainfall. Then what else? What are the other reasons, other causes that you can add? You can add deforestation, deforestation from urban areas. So we are cutting down the trees. Already greener portion of cities are, turning because of the need of rising infrastructure. They are cutting down the trees, uprooting the trees, and removing it. So this will further trigger the urban heat island effect, and you can add case study, for example, like the urban chipko movement, which was started in Delhi. You can quote examples from Delhi. Like in South Delhi, what is happening is, like, due to one construction project there, I guess the Delhi government was building metro there. So some patch of tree has to be uprooted and has to be cut down. So people, despite getting environmental clearances, the people came in protest, and then they practiced the urban chipko. That means they hugged the trees and they didn't allow the authorities to cut down the trees, because that was the only limited green patch left in that region. So this you can add as an example, plus with this data, it will attract more marks. Then what are the other reasons due to which your urban floodings happen? It is because of the lack of management of drains. So in urban areas, like some places have a century old drainage system. Like for example, again I can quote you better examples from Delhi because I am from Delhi. So like Old Delhi area is still surviving. Many places are still surviving on the old infrastructure, old sewerage lines that has been laid down by the local governments, and at times in some cases by the Britishers. So Britishers have laid down those lines, and since at that time the population pressure was not there, but now there is so much of population increase in Old Delhi area, so it is creating a tremendous burden on these sewerage lines and ultimately choking it. This is one reason why lack of management can create problem. Then there is no proper maintenance of the drains. No proper maintenance of the drains. Like most of the time you will find the cleaning of drain, it happens just during the monsoon season, or at times it does not even happen. And even if they try to clean the drains, what they will do, they will keep the sludge near the drain outlet. So that sludge from the sewers, it will dry up and then it will again land up in the same drain. So ultimately, doubling the work. So this is something that you can add when it comes to lack of management of drains. Then encroachment of the low-lying areas. Encroachment of the low-lying areas. This is also one more reason. Like again, example from Delhi, this is common in all cities. You will find the low-lying areas of all the cities are encroached by the people. The people build their unauthorized colonies, then they slowly and slowly build the pakka makans, and then they get all the government uh, benefits, like they get an electrified meter, electricity, drinking water through pipes, sewerage, and then for the vote bank purposes, that colony is declared as a legal colony. So all these nearby areas near Yamuna, they face flooding like Wazirabad, Bhavana, your North Campus, Mukherjee Nagar, that region, the student area. Each year, the water gets accumulated there because technically that area is a low-lying area. Like encroachment also happens on the city depressions slash lakes or old dried up lakes. Like for example, you can quote examples from Chennai. You can quote examples from Bengaluru. Like why Bengaluru and Chennai are witnessing severe floods? The reason is the construction is happening on some old dried up lakes. So all these old dried up lakes, basically, they are the low-lying area of the city. But with some engineerical solutions, they clean up whatever left of water is there, and then they encroach that land, and then they build the multi-story buildings. But ultimately, that position is a depression. So whatever water that will fall in Chennai and Bangalore, it will run down towards these depressions in the city, or these low areas or low-lying areas. And then the result will be, it appears to be that flood water has reached almost first floor in height, that it has completely submerged the ground level. So are you understanding what I'm trying to say here? So basically it is a political nexus. So this also creates flooding. Then other issues like sand mining or hindering the natural flow of the river. Like what happens is, your sand miners, the Khanan mafia, what they do, they illegally tend to encroach the banks of the river. They try to clear up the banks. They tend to extract sand from the river banks. What will be its impact? When you are extracting sand from the river banks, it will increase it will reduce, or rather remove any kind of a hindrance at the flood bank. So whenever there is more water in the river, obviously the water will come out from the river. Okay, so water will come out from the river. So this sand mining and hindering the natural flow of the river will result in the flood water from the rivers entering in your major cities. This is one more cause for urban floods. Then, like this question is of 250 marks. So you need to add at least 6-7 causes and then some mitigation strategies. So let us complete some more causes for urban floods. Then you can add, like, what else is left? Yeah, one point that you can add here is unplanned management of floodgates. Unplanned management of floodgates. Like this year, the Aam Aadmi Party in Delhi and BJP in Haryana, they were doing the blame game. So Aam Aadmi Party blamed BJP that they are not operating Hathni Kund barrage properly. And then the BJP government of Haryana is again putting the blame on AAP government that we are operating as per the riparian principle. So we are operating according to the carrying capacity of the Hathni Kund barrage. So this type of lack of coordination among different states also results in urban floods. Like Chandigarh, for example, the floodgates of Sukna Lake in Chandigarh has been opened up very abruptly without giving proper warnings to the nearby areas. So what was the result? That flood water has entered, almost covering a major part of the Chandigarh city. So this unplanned management of rivers at times are the reason that it can create urban flooding. Okay, now coming to the mitigation strategies. Okay, now let us discuss some mitigation strategies, how we can tackle urban floods. Okay, so mitigation. What will be the mitigation? The first important mitigation will be development of the concept of sponge cities. Development of the concept of sponge cities. Now, what are sponge cities? In sponge cities, what you will do, you will allow more percolation of water. That means you will develop your city pavements in such a way that it will allow more absorption of water. On the road footpaths, you can make it in a way like, for example, the inner roads in a society can be made with a hollow kind of a setup, like one brick, one hollow, one brick, one hollow. These kind of setups will allow more water to percolate down. So this we can promote. Then we can develop bioswales. What are bioswales? These are some engineered structures. So whatever water is getting on the road, the water will flow towards some holes which are constructed along the road, and through that hole the water is allowed to percolate down in the ground, because the concrete road does not allow water to percolate down, but these bioswales will allow water to percolate down. Then promoting rainwater harvesting. Rainwater harvesting is one more solution that you can give for tackling urban floods, and then it is under sponge cities only, as a concept of sponge cities. And then you can do urban afforestation. Like what do a tree do? A tree is a solution to all environmental problem. So more trees will allow more percolation of water, more trees will allow more binding of water, and then it will not allow the flood water to enter here and there. It can act as a bioshield. So all these points you can add. This will be a very important point. Expanding to all these sub points will fetch you more marks. Then what you can do vulnerability mapping. Like you can already map the city areas which are highly vulnerable to floods. You can select those areas in the cities which are highly vulnerable to floods. Then what you can do in vulnerability mapping, you can make or take corrective measures for the low-lying areas. You can take all the corrective measures for the low-lying areas once identifying all these areas through proper vulnerability mapping. Then what you can do, drainage management. Drainage management. By the way, one point that reminded me that you can add, and which is something which is in news. When it comes to urban afforestation, you can add Miyawaki method for plantation. Miyawaki method for plantation. You can add this. Like very recently, Narendra Modi has, talked about this Miyawaki method in his Man Ki Baat. Okay, so Miyawaki is what? It is a Japanese technique where you grow indigenous trees. That means naturally available trees very close to each other in a very small patch of land. Like 4 to 5 trees in a very small patch of land. You can grow like this. What will happen in that small patch of land? Because these trees are indigenous, these trees can grow on their own. It can flourish as a forest on their own because of the competition among the species for the nutrients. So this type of method can be promoted in urban greening, which can help to reduce your flooding situation. Next is drain management. So how drain management can improve? That means first you can do is cleaning of the drainage in pre-monsoon stage. This should be done in the pre-monsoon stage, not during monsoon or post-monsoon. In pre-monsoon stage, you can do. Then developing proper inlet connectivity, sewage connectivity, so that you do not allow water to collect. Like in most of the urban cities, what happens is a 15-minute of rains is sufficient to submerge major parts of the city, and it can create heavy traffic loss or heavy traffic jams. So these drainage management you can you can add. Then as a next solution, what you can add is proper waste management. Proper waste management, like clearing the solid waste, clearing the plastic waste. A proper waste disposal of all these waste can declog your drains, can declog all those small streams that are connected to the floods. So if those small streams like the Najafgarh drain in Delhi, the Najafgarh drain, basically it was not a drain. It was earlier a very small narrow river that was running almost between the Delhi and it is meeting Yamuna. Okay, but now we have turned it into it is next to a drain now. It is a nala, and it is all clogged with the solid waste, all clogged with the plastic waste, etc., etc. So if you clean all that waste from there, there will be a proper flow of the water. More water will reach the rivers, and that it can easily bypass the cities. This is what you can do. The next point, the next measure that you can add is that you can do a proper regulation and monitoring. Proper regulation and monitoring is also one solution that you can have to manage your flooding situation in urban areas. Like you can check on encroachment, you can follow the building safety codes. Okay, you can add these points. Like other mitigation strategies that you can add here is awareness and preparedness. awareness and preparedness. How? Like educating the people, like training the people. All these things will increase the capacity building of the people to tackle urban floods as a problem. Okay, so these are some mitigation strategies to tackle floods. Okay, and then you can conclude your answer by giving some data, or like you can quote the national water census of urban areas is a better mechanism to tackle, no, it is a better mechanism to tackle urban floods as a natural disaster. And then you can also add developing early warning systems, effective early warning systems can reduce the intensity and volume of flood in urban cities. So on these lines, you can conclude your answer. Now we are moving on to the third question for this evening. In this topic, again, we will do a very highly probable question for even this upcoming GS mains. Okay, we'll do a very highly probable question for upcoming GS mains. The question is related to landslides. So list the several factors that cause and affect landslides. Mention the key elements of the national strategy in managing landslides. So again, the question is in a way asking for the reasons and causes for landslides and what solutions you will provide against the landslides. So to begin with, you can explain what are landslides. So basically, landslide is the movement of rocks, debris from a slope is considered as a landslide. It is because of the influence of gravity, in bracket you can add mass wasting, and other agents like water, ice, wind, etc. You can add n number of weathering agents as a reason for landslides. Then you can also quote some data here. Okay, so according to the vulnerability analysis of India, the vulnerability atlas, 15% of India is prone to landslides, and most part of the landslides, the region it covers in the Himalayas. Especially you can quote examples from Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh. You can give examples of Joshimath, which is experiencing, that region is experiencing landslides. And then you can add Northeast as example, and then some examples of landslides from Maharashtra. This you can add. Then the second part of the question talks about the body of the question. That means in the body you will have to write the causes of landslides. So the first you can add the natural cause for landslides. You can add natural cause. So in natural cause, what you can add is heavy rainfall. Heavy rainfall in the mountainous region, especially the instances like cloudburst, flash floods. All these examples can trigger landslides. You can quote some recent examples from cloudburst and flash floods, like a flash flood in Amarnath Yatra, then flash floods of Chamoli, then Joshimath. You can give these current examples. Then other cause are deforestation. So as we know, the urbanization is rising even in the mountainous region. Let's say because of the tourism pressure, because of more infrastructure need for the mountainous people or the Himalayan people. All these are the reasons where we are cutting down our slopes, cutting down the mountains, cutting down those trees for road construction, for dam building, for developing communication lines such as electricity, waterways. All these things lead to, or it is a major reason why we have deforestation in mountainous region. Then earthquakes. Earthquake. By the way, we were writing natural causes. So you can add deforestation in the anthropogenic cause. Okay, so it won't come here. So you can shift it. I didn't realize that first we are writing natural cause. We are segregating the causes. Or you can skip the word natural cause and you can write all the causes together. So earthquake, volcanoes can also trigger landslides. Earthquake can happen because of the mining activity, the blasting technique that we are using on the mountains. All these things can also trigger landslides. Another cause is shifting agriculture. Okay, one more reason for landslides is shifting agriculture. So generally it is practiced in Northeast, where it is known as the jhum cultivation. By the way, in deforestation, you can also add agriculture as one of the reason for deforestation. More and more land, people are clearing for agriculture to practice terrace farming. Then the traditional practice of shifting cultivation, the jhum cultivation in Northeast, is one more reason that why we are experiencing more and more landslides. So these are the more broader causes. Then what will be the effect of landslides? What will be the effect? So the effect, again, there will be some short-term effects and there will be some long-term effects. So short-term effects and long-term effects of a landslide. So when it comes to short-term effects, what will be the short-term effect? Like, it will hamper the natural beauty of the place, the scenic beauty. Then it can create roadblocks. It can hamper the communication lines, because in hilly region, one road is the only source of connectivity to that village, or let's say to that city. So when a road is destructed, the complete connection and communication with that city is lost. So the supplies to the city, essential supplies like food, like medicines, all these are distorted, which again create problems for the locals. Then loss of life and property, which will have the impact on economy. So there will be a huge economic losses in the short term. Then one more important loss during short term is that landslides can block rivers, or it can change the course of the rivers. It can change the course of the rivers. So these are the reasons which can have a short-term effect on, or short-term effect of landslides. In the long run, what will happen? There will be a permanent change. There will be a permanent change of landscape that will happen. Like for example, a major part of Joshimath subsides. That means it sinks. So imagine the impact on that complete landscape. Then loss of cultivable land. This will be the next impact. Then it will create social problems, like it will trigger migration from the region. Are you understanding this? So population shift. Then some environmental long-term effect will be, like when the rivers will change the course, it can lead to drying up of rivers, drying up of old lakes. This will be the long-term effect of landslides. Now, what is the mitigation strategy that we can follow? What mitigation strategy that we can follow for landslides? So the first is again hazard zoning. In hazard zoning, what you'll do, you will identify different areas. You will try to stabilize and manage those slopes. You will first identify that what all areas are more vulnerable to landslides. Then you will try to place some early warning systems. You will try to place those early warning systems so that you can have a better mitigation for the landslides. Other than this, you can also take some area specific measures. area specific measures may include, like for example, you know that this portion is prone to landslides, so you can avoid any kind of construction there. You can avoid movement of people there, or you can club this under administrative alertness. What do you mean by administrative alertness? So basically, administrative alertness means that people are, or the bureaucrats, they know that each year this place will witness landslide. So why not you already take necessary measures to promote alternate ways, or to make special arrangements to stop movement of people, let's say during the monsoon months. So this can help in saving the lives. Then afforestation. Afforestation programs, a tree is a solution to all environmental problems. The tree is a solution to all environmental problems. So we need to plant more and more trees in the urban areas. Sorry, not urban areas, the areas where the slopes are, the steep slopes are. So the trees will tend to bind those slopes, those loose soil, and the topmost layer of the slopes. Then to tackle agriculture, we can practice terrace farming. Okay, we can opt for terrace farming as a solution. Then guys, one more mitigation strategy for tackling the landslides are creation of engineering solutions. Engineering solutions such as retention walls. Okay, retention walls are like, for example, you have a slope. So on the base of the slope, they will create some walls so that it act as a as a slope stabilizing measure. Okay, again, depending upon the type of the question, you can also add examples from like cloudburst. So let's say if a question is a 250 marker, then you can simply add one small paragraph that how cloudburst can also trigger landslides, and then how cloudburst can be handled. So first, very quickly, let me explain that what is a cloudburst. बादल फटना किसे कहते हैं? So cloudburst is generally a phenomena that is found in mountainous regions. However, this phenomena can occur in the plains, but the chances are very unlikely. So what happens in mountainous region that trigger cloudburst? Let us first understand that. So basically, what type of rainfall is defined as a cloudburst? First, we'll understand that. So if there is a rainfall of 100 millimeter per hour, in a 10 by 10 kilometer radius, 100 millimeter of rainfall in this time and in this area. This is declared as cloudburst according to IMD, Indian Meteorological Department. Or you can also say 50 millimeter of rainfall in half an hour in 5 by 5 kilometer of area. So basically in a cloudburst, the area of impact is very small. Okay. The area of impact is very small. And that is why the predictability of cloudburst is next to impossible. It is next to impossible. So very quickly, let me tell you that what are the reasons that trigger cloudburst. So imagine that we have a mountain. So during the summer months, you will have the hot air coming from the plains. The hot air coming from the plains comes in contact with the mountain slope and then it start rising up. Like in geography, you must have done the adiabatic rising of the air. So when this warm air rises up, it carries those moisture along with it. So when this air rises up, it will result in formation of clouds. But before this clouds can result into rains, what will happen? More warm air will come and further it will toss this cloud a little more upward. That means it will change the saturation. Okay, it will change the saturation in the cloud. And then with the continuous change of the saturation in the cloud, there will be a time when the limit will be crossed and the saturation will be reached. So at that point where the saturation is reached, the rainfall comes as gushing down in a very small area and then hence can trigger landslides. So what mitigation strategy that you can add for landslides? Specifically because of the cloudburst, you can add by detecting it as early as possible. So developing early warning systems, specifically in some most vulnerable places, can help you to solve the cloudburst problem and then extreme precipitation and landslide because of this extreme precipitation. Okay, so this is how you can write this third answer. So I have given you a decent mitigation strategy. First, we have learned what are the causes, what is the landslide basically. Then I have explained that what are the causes for landslides. You can give it again two columns here: natural cause and man-made cause, anthropogenic cause, or you can rather list it down as a one single list. Then you can add effects of landslides, that what kind of effects we can witness due to landslides, the short-term effects, long-term effects, and then you can give all these mitigations that I have discussed in detail. So today's session we have covered 3 questions in detail. One related to earthquake, the other related to urban floods, and one related to landslides. So guys, all these questions, I am expecting that at least one of the question will come in mains 23. Okay, I'm expecting that there will be a question in mains 23 from these areas. So if you are writing this year's main, you can very swiftly go to, or you can increase the speed of this video later on, and you can go through that how you can tackle these three disasters. Okay, so this is all for today's session, guys. I will stop here for the day, but before ending today's session, I would like to inform that if you are planning to take subscription on Unacademy, Sriram IAS is providing detailed comprehensive coverage for UPSC CSE 24. It is under the guidance of Sriram sir himself. We will provide you a complete comprehensive coverage for your prelims, for your mains, as well as for your interview. Then we also offer optional courses with mentorship, and other papers are also covered here, like essay, like qualifying papers. There will be help provided for those papers as well. So that means it is a full package for you. So you can use this code Srirams, and with this code you will get a flat 25% off on all your subscription. A flat 25% off on all your subscription. Then we offer the list of optionals which are mentioned here. In this list, we have recently added geography and anthropology. So we provide coachings for geography as well as anthropology, sociology, PubAd, PSIR, economics, and history optional. All these courses are covered here at Unacademy Sriram IAS. So do not forget to hit this code, and do not forget to hit like on this video. And if you love this initiative, please share this with your friends as well. So till then, see you in the next video. Till then, Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.